Hello, and here we go, and hopefully this video will come out better than the dark one I just had, and I'll probably have to repeat some of the stuff on that, but here we go, I'm going to flip it. Alrighty, I know this has a two-way way on this phone, but right now I'm being lazy and I don't want to go figure it out. I am trying to go back on saying what America would do if they were in my shoes. Basically, being harassed by Child Protective Services, being told that you are taking illicit drugs. I don't have to really name the drug. If it really matters, just think there's a pile full of illicit drugs people normally get blame on taking, and it's not Mary Jane or marijuana because those seem to be more on the legal side. And in hell, what makes me mad is because I know so many people now that are legally taking those, smoking it in front of their children, and I really don't even have a really care into this, but when they made such a big deal of this 5 or 10 years ago, if you were smoking in front of your kids, they could be taken away, but now, I don't know, it doesn't seem like I hear stories of it or see it online or in newspaper. I know the media is controlled by certain people, and they choose to put out there what they may, and I'm surprised I'm even being able to put these videos on. But hopefully I can continue to, because I am so, excuse my language, I am so fucking mad that I have had my family ripped apart because this damn system has accused me of being such a neglectful mother, because supposedly all I cared about was finding drugs and supposedly not caring for my children, which my children all can vouch that I was taking care of them. They were still coming with me shopping, packing into a taxi, going to Walmart, going to Shaw's. When I didn't want to bring them all out or a baby out, one of them may have stayed home with the baby, but they were also at the age of 16, 17, so wasn't being left home with a, one of those careless stories you hear with a little 8 or 9-year-old trying to take care of a 6-month-old or even a 2-year-old. It wasn't one of those stupid horror stories that you freaking hear all the time, or sometimes the media blows those stories up even, so you don't even know to believe those stories. But what I get concerned about is that if I was so fucking honest with these people, why couldn't they be honest back to me and said, look, you were honest with us, let's put it this way, you look like you got the help that you needed, you look like you're receiving it, you do have some trouble just financially, and it's getting hard for you to find a home because of me trying to look for help with the opiate dependency I had. It kind of destroyed what credit I had out there, because all my money and the father's money was going to help me to get better, so this wouldn't be what it is now, a tremendous thing that it's hard to wrap yourself around and get a hold of and be able to make everything stick together and have control over everything, basically getting out of hand. And it has since gotten out of hand. And these people really pride themselves on their jobs, because when I mentioned certain people that had stuck up for people that have been in my shoes, that are no longer with us, may God rest her soul, for those of you who might know who I'm talking about, send in Nancy Schieffer, because she also saw certain things being used against people that were low income. And long before I knew about Nancy Schieffer, I also recognized that I was already hinted, little whispers in my ears, knowing you don't have the money to get a really good lawyer. They're going to get those kids further away, and the cuter they are, the more submissive they might be, blah, blah, the less family you have around to help you, you might not see them again, or they might really make it hard for you to get to them, and they might even spoil your chances of even finding housing by probably calling these people to tell them not to rent to you. So when I start hearing those things, and I thought I was just imagining that I could think those things, but these were said to me by people that were so-called in the system themselves, meaning working for the system, but thought maybe this girl deserves a chance to at least hear the truth, because I believe that was the truth. Very few said it to me, because they got to remember they're risking their jobs and God knows what else just to be able to say this to me. And as I heard those little whispers in my ears, I thought, damn. And some were girls that had already had this happen to them, and their kids are being off being medicated because according to them, they didn't have the education to understand. Now they do, some of them, because they're fighting back, because they're fed all these lines that the kid has this and the kid's this, and they're believing them because they have a doctorate degree, excuse my slurring, and you don't, so they must know things that you don't, despite it being your own child and coming from your own body, but you believe in what they're saying. And then for those of us that are brave enough to question authority, they would always come up with some clever answers to kind of override what you would say back to them, almost like they had rehearsed this just in case some of these little smarty pants parents decide to question their authority. And you always should always question authority. Just because they're wearing a suit and a tie don't mean shit. Or some dykey business suit, some of these girls. And I'm sorry, I don't have totally nothing about lesbians. But some girls just act like they want to be men. And if they want to be men so much, why defer yourself as a woman and a guy? Why don't you just say one or the other? Because to me, I think a little feminist means that's what attracts most people to wanting to be a girl. Because to me, it doesn't mean you're weak. That's just why people tend to lean more to a mother than they sometimes to a father. Not necessarily, but to me that means something, to be different. If you want to go to both genders, then go to both genders. But this is not what I mean by that. These girls just act like they just want to have the balls and the guts to destroy a person, and they don't even know why themselves, but they just feel like they need to. And I was the target of one of these people that just, which was Child Protective Services. They just thought this mother is asking way too many questions. We don't like her. And of course, I didn't like them. I approached them several times. They thought I was being what they would call volatile. I didn't threaten them. I don't go slashing tires. I don't go follow them. I don't waste my time. But it is a small town, so I don't have to anyways. So let that be said. Just like they didn't have to follow me to find out supposedly things they think they know about me. So I've heard. So my whole thing on this was basically being harassing me. You're not really harassing me. You're really harassing my family. Harassing me is one thing, but they're going after my family, and this is what I'm getting back to. Why are you doing this? What is so special about my children right now that you have to find you got to make money off of my misery? What is it that you wouldn't want to see us together? As I once repeated to a girl 2 years ago at this time, prior to my case being lost, my first case being lost, I was looking at her, and she goes, would you like me to take some snapshots of your families together? And she had that kind of, I won't say Cherokee face, but looked like one of those round, like friendly. She would just, be there to want to do something nice for you. Don't let a parent fool you. So she snapped away some pictures for me. As I looked at them with her, and I said, how would you want to separate a family? Look at them loving each other. And she just glared down at me, and I got this really bad gutsy feeling in my gut, thinking, I don't think this girl really cared, and I can't believe she just offered to take pictures of my kids, and is remarking about the pictures. She's looking at me like I couldn't believe she even asked to begin with. So then I remember walking out of there feeling even more of a pit in my stomach, and thought, there's really a lot more than I'm not hearing about these people. And unfortunately, it took me another year and a few months later, to a year and a half later, to find out exactly what these people are. Because you got to remember the system of all these judges and court-appointed lawyers and Guardian Lighthouse was all smacked together years ago to try to create some sort of balance of getting kids into a system so there probably wouldn't be these so-called orphanages, so they would be brought up in more of a home and it give people incentive for trying to help people, trying to help these children, which they don't really end up doing in the long run because, like I said, I have hundreds of people, literally, I can think of relatives and friends of mine and stuff that try to do this as a job because it is a job being a foster parent. They did not, 90% of them did not have the natural quality. They might have had not a bad looking home, or the kids still got fed and still may have brought themselves to the doctor, but they had no more than what they already kind of had at home. The love was not there. In a way, I couldn't even blame these people. They can't love a child that you're pushed onto, just like a child can't love you to push on. If I was to take a child out on the streets and grab him and now say, you're mine, well, what makes me think this child's going to love me? I'd be nuts in the head to think that. To grow to love you, that's another thing. But to automatically think this love's going to be like that, I can't even like somebody just because I meet them the first few days. I can say I can start to like them, but I still don't know them. So, and to fall in love is another thing. To me, that still takes a little more time quality. I know time's short, but to kind of slap it together, I do believe in some rare occasions of that happen, but not enough to make it a real solid rule of thumb. It just, to me, doesn't happen. And this is why you find kids getting abused because they end up being resented, and then they're resenting the foster family because they're thinking, why aren't you bringing me back to the people that really love me? Because they're not understanding it's Child Protective Services that have more of a state into what they're doing, and it's not just Child Protective Services, it's actually the judges, and the judges are going home sleeping. As far as I know, soundly at night. Maybe they have to take something, who knows? But I don't see a lot of them personally sleeping silently at night. I personally have had my self again, excuse me, had a family member who luckily lived in a la-di-da neighborhood, and what I heard about judges back then makes sense totally now because now I know why some judges couldn't sleep or had to rely to drink because these guys would often visit people that I knew or even could be related to, and they must have had a big guilty conscience because they're going by what these defendants, attorneys are saying about a case, and they have to go by that, and how they go to and make a decision, they're relaying it on a jury, but at the end, it still falls down to them, because in my case, it did. And by me not speaking enough to this judge, I wrote him a letter, a crazy-ass letter, like, because my handwriting's so bad, to say, please, get a hold of me, listen to me, maybe person to person you can hear me. These judges, lawyers, court-appointed attorneys pointing to me and the father, because they did try to subjugate us, because they told us that was the best interest of both of us. I don't think I'm doing a good enough job. And these Guardian Lighthouse are not returning calls. I'm asking the father to do the jobs that he wasn't used to doing, that I was normally the one that most people would rely on, but I wanted him to learn some of the system. I think back if I could have done better, but I was told, take the time to get better yourself, which I really think I did. I think I have done quite a remarkable job of staying pretty much sober, besides my teeth and a bad issue I've had with a disorder and a leg problem. I've stayed away from opiates at least 85 to 95% of the time in the last several years. Only a few times have they caught it, and only then I had a prescription for it. And even then it didn't work because the boxing kicks it out, and you have to kind of, for those that don't know Crotom is like this nice product that they're trying to take out. A lot of people like it. It tastes like crap, but it can help heroin and Suboxone and opiate addictions, and it can be addicted itself. So basically, I suggest don't take my word for it. Look up Protum. It's spelled Kratom, and there's different brands of it, different companies of it, and I would definitely tell people I've had my experience on trying it, and it doesn't do the most remarkable job because I think my Suboxone has been in my system, and it kind of has an opiate base to it, so I think it kicks it out of my system. But when I lost my prescription for almost about 3 weeks, my prescription got lost in between trying to move because I thought I was in a electrical fire. I couldn't find it, and I couldn't find it in none of my stuff. Well, anywho, I had to rely on this stuff, and I have to admit it was better than nothing. So that being said, I would definitely look into it. In another video, I'll discuss a little bit more my version of Crotum and what I have found to work for me. But again, some people find it more of a miracle drug than miracle herb than I did. But I still wouldn't 86 it out. I would still suggest people to give it a shot. But if I had taken Crotum years ago, again, this probably wouldn't have happened. They're trying to ban it, by the way. So if you see petitions going around to stick up for Crotum, and you know people that are pain and have a heroin addiction or any opiate addiction, etc., again, it's something to read upon before you sign any paperwork, but I would definitely keep an open mind. To me, it's like another situation like marijuana. I think there's both good and bad in anything. I think there's good and bad in opiates too, still. It certainly helped when I gave birth at different times, and other times I didn't feel 1 ounce of it and thought, how the hell do people survive this kind of pain? Especially my last pregnancy. I wasn't on on Suboxone. I was on Zepitex without the Narcan, but unfortunately, I still felt the C-section. I felt the knife cutting me. I thought, how the hell can someone survive this much pain and breathe and still be able to deliver a baby? But at the end, all came out okay. Not great, but okay. And there was a story that was left behind then because then I had DHS for the first time in my life, because the baby was born with some of the stuff in his system. So she had the shakes and had to supposedly stay in the hospital for about 30 days exactly, which was weird because I know people that took way higher doses than I did, and their baby barely stayed there for 7 days. So I think that had to do with insurance, who had better insurance and stuff, that sort of deal. But that's my own opinion. But again, I want to make sure that when I have this video out there, I want people to understand that I have Child Protective Services harassing my family. I have them here in the state of Maine that are doing a rotten job of trying to secure a position in my family's life to say, look, we were wrong. The mother is willing to prove her sobriety to us, proved that she did the work that we had told her to do, and was told we have her and have it on tape that we told her to work on herself, which I did, which kind of took me away from my family. But I thought at the time my sister had them, I could work on myself until I started to see my sister couldn't quite handle them, so it kind of took me away from some of my studies and looking for housing because I was worried about them. But at the same time, and trying to look for housing faster, but you can't do this fast enough, especially when 20 years ago it was hard to find housing, low-income housing, and be halfway decent. It's definitely even 10 times harder now. Where we live now is shelter, as far as a building covered and whatnot, but at the same time, I am being harassed by the person that owns this place. My guy is too. He finds himself quite nosy and a little more on the outspoken than he should be. I'm surprised he is because these days people are in the love of Sue, and I know because I always have that haunt over me But yet I have thought, well, why don't I hunt other people with the word lawsuit? Because once you say that, sometimes that shuts people the fuck right up. I was even told that I